wonder how to transform your team into a powerhouse of talent and positivity? In this episode of Profit with a Plan is all about finding and keeping the right people. We're unpacking how to identify top candidates, secure your A players, and root out toxicity before it takes hold. So if you're serious about building a team that drives results, you're going to want to hear the simple game-changing techniques that Dr. Axa Yox and I are sharing to spot the best, protect the best, and create a culture where everyone thrives. So stay tuned. It's all coming up on the next Profit with a Plan. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you ready to boost your profits and grow your business? Welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast, where we share strategies to help you scale your company, increase your profitability, and set up for a successful exit. I'm your host, Marcia Riner, a business growth strategist and the profit booster behind Infinite Profit. I've helped countless entrepreneurs to build highly profitable and sale-ready businesses. That's more profits now and a bigger payout later. By the way, today's episode is sponsored by Infinite Profit, where we don't just talk profit, we deliver it. And if you're ready to take your business to the next level, go visit infiniteprofitconsulting.com. But before we dive in, I've got something really special to share with you. It's a brand new endeavor for me, and I think it's been helping a lot of my clients so far. So if you've ever felt like that you're doing everything right, but just not getting the traction you deserve, well, here's a tip. Customer reviews can be your secret weapon to attract new clients and boost trust. That's why I'm excited to share our free growth and marketing audit at profitbooster.biz. In this one single session, we'll show you how to turn those reviews into real growth. You ready to stand out? Visit profitbooster.biz and get started. All right, let's jump into our episode today with our guest, Dr. Axa Yox, with a profound background in science and a master in sociology, and a specialty degree in biotechnology, a PhD in microbiology, and a focus on genetics. She won first prize award and 12 inventions that were nominated as a person of extraordinary ability. Dr. Axa Yox quit science to build her own company and failed dramatically. Yet, follows her passion for helping people. She published a book called Stop Calling It the Comfort Zone and Be Uncomfortable with Being Comfortable to Succeed, where she describes an innovative technique on how to rewire the links in our brains. Wow, Dr. Axa, you are a highly qualified, highly skilled person and then jumped into the crazy world of business. So welcome to Profit with a Plan.
Thanks for welcoming. And what can be better? The plan with the profit.
That's right.
Normally it's either or, but here is boss. It's all in.
Thank you. I love it. I love it. All right. So what triggered you? I mean, you spent all this time, you're highly educated, you were in the science field. What caused you to jump over to the other side of entrepreneurship and helping businesses?
I actually thought that I was ready for the real life because I had 12 inventions. It's a really good start for anyone who thinks that their idea about the business or how they see the business is as they think. It might be 100% different. And what is the best takeaway that I learned through the last 5 years talking to business people? If they tell you something, there is a reason behind. Especially if you are not professional with the business, even if you don't like it, you have to take it because they know the basic of the business. Because there is a reason why 80% of startups fail within the first year, because we don't consider to take the advice of people who already succeeded. Take your step. If you didn't know something and now you know, and when you look back and you try to give the advice, let's say to your nieces or your nephews or somebody who is just starting off and they don't listen to you, what's your reaction? Like, listen up, you're going
I know
to
the
crash.
past.
Exactly the same is with the business. So
Mm,
if you don't want to fail, it's very harsh to accept, because for me it was like, how is it even possible they don't see the value behind the inventions? While it was not the issue with the invention, it was issue with me, because I was in love with the product. And once I started to hear that over and over and over again, they were like, don't be in love with your product. And I was like, how you can succeed if you
it's
are not
my
in love?
baby.
That's the first sign that the business owners don't like. Why? Because as you stated perfectly, take the feedback of your customer, and that's the recipe for your success. So if you are in love with your baby, with your business, with your product, you are not always willing to change it.
Mm,
And if the customer don't like your product and you don't want to change it, where are you? You are failing. That's
exactly.
it's just pieces of the puzzle where you get all of them and you start to assemble. You are at the end, you are like, oh my goodness, this is what the business people were telling me. And I was so obsessed, and I saw the pictures from the different angle. It's like when you have the 6 and the 9 and you look at the from the different angles, you see the 6, you say it's 6, the business person sees 9 and they say it's 9. So you have to come to the compromise and see both angles and be willing to change. Why? What's your purpose when you start the business? Is it to start the business or is to succeed? So
Mm,
if the purpose is to start the business and to, because if you the purpose is to start the business, you are going to fail, because you are not ready for the downs, and the downs are going to be more than you expect, and everybody tells that. When I heard for the first time, I was like, what do you mean? Once you start to succeed, once you start to have the money in the house, you start to get being sued. And I was like, what?
crazy.
Yes, and one by one, everything you hear from the business people, it comes to be true. So make your life easier. If you see successful business person, listen to their advice.
Ah,
They know what they say.
great advice. I love it. Not everybody follows that though. They think that they, the natural tendency of the entrepreneur is to think that, oh, I know how to do it better, right? But they may only know one little part of that and not all the other little parts because, we do have a lot of moving parts in a business. So great advice. Great advice. So
Yeah.
so let me ask you a question. So that was your big shift from moving from science into business was to learn and help these business owners because your products, you were suffering in your products and delivering that.
Yes,
So
and I had so many losses because I didn't know the steps.
mm,
If you have the option, if you can pay it forward, go for the consultation.
love
It's just, yeah, the best advice that I can give.
love it. Okay, so you had another experience that has come out of this transaction for or this transition for you from science into business that you suffered through and you found some really incredible solutions on managing employees, the good employees, right?
Yes, because it's already statistically is proof that if you have the A player, people who sit around the A player, their productivity raises for 30%.
Mm.
And once
They
you
raise
start,
everybody else by
Yes,
30%. So
they
just because
live.
they're an A player, then it
They
makes everybody else at least a B player or an A minus player.
Yeah, it's kind of the trigger. So you are in the competition, and then you don't want to be that much left behind. And step by step, you just follow, and then you raise your productivity.
So let me ask you about that. So that seems like a logical answer for somebody who is competitive, right? But what if you have candidates or employees that are not so competitive and then they get jealous and start to create problems because, oh, the new person came in doing really well. Oh, they're just a favorite of the boss. Oh, so they get that sabotaging kind of thing going on.
That's the worst thing that can happen in any company, and we shall never look at the sabotaging. We have to see the perspective of the business owner as well. So if you are a player, what are the chances that you will stay in the company? They are lower than if the B player or the C player will stay. So
Mm,
if you are an A player and you want to show up and you want everybody to like you, that's not being A player, because A player is the leader. And that's the difference between being a leader and being the boss. So if you come in the already established working environment and you want to kind of push your vision of the company, you are going to fail. Why? Because every single time when I would enter any working environment, I would never see that they have to adjust to my vision. Why? Because that's not my company. If
mm,
anyone would come to my company and push their vision of how I have to establish the future of the company, I will never like that. So being a player doesn't mean that you have, this is the difference between being a player and behaving as a boss, or just being a player and pushing the limits for the company. Those are very different things. If you are a player and you are doing things for the company, the chances that you would be sabotaged are still very high, because many people, they work there for years. You just came, you are naturally talented. It's okay, you are naturally talented, but people spend their decades, they work their path to become the managers or the next, for they're ready for the next promotion, and yet you just swoop in and then you think that you will get the promotion. It's not that easy, and you have to face that. So there are steps that you have to adjust your attitude towards, and learn a little bit more about the culture of the company that you are working in before you even consider to go or push yourself for the promotion. Because the
got it.
chances that you would step in the position that you would quit within very short period of time, versus the other person who is more, they put more energy and they will stay there. I always consider, if I push my truth, and the chances are high if you are really correct in the situation to push your truth, but if you are pushing for what, for good, then do it. If to because of your ambitions, don't do it. This is the boss. Being a leader is when you show other people, oh, I found the easier way, that because that's how I do. Oh, I found the easier way. That's what confuses people, because they are used to completely different attitude. If you are naturally talented, then you have to keep everything to yourself to show up before the boss, the manager, and try to promote yourself. Instead, you are just helping everyone around. What's wrong with you? And you don't see that. You see the flip side. You are like, if everyone works constructive, the company will benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
If if everyone benefits and you don't have that bitter attitude towards me, if I show you as well and I don't brag, this is something, oh, I am the only person I know. If you try to protect, then you will fail more versus if you help people to lift with yourself. That's when they are telling, if you have the A player, 30% productivity raises. When you start to lift others, it's not like I learn, I know how to use the, let's say, even the simplest things, like how to copy paste or faster work with the computer, and you don't help, then that's not lifting your company or lifting people around. So you have to know the difference. Even if you are a player, are you a leader or you are manager, which is not very beneficial even for yourself, because you will create that toxic environment around yourself and you will not enjoy it.
Are your podcast guest appearances leading to real business, or are you just hoping that listeners will take action? With the Profit Booster Podcast Monetization Hub, we turn your interviews into lead generating machines so that you capture, nurture, and convert listeners into paying clients. So stop leaving money on the table and get started today at profitboosterpod.com. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you for explaining that down there. So, how does a business owner attract more A players to lift the team up?
I believe that's the hardest question, and no one has the answer. Why? Because if you have the A player, the A players know their value and they obviously expect to be paid proportionally, which will show the other people not being that valuable. So the balance has to be not in the favor of the A player. But once you get the compensation in a different way, which fits how you expect to be compensated, then there is an option to play around, keep the A players, help the others to raise as well, to lift them and show, because sometimes it could happen that the A player comes in, because that's how it happened with me when I was changing some jobs within the last years when I was new in the country. I would show them the easiest way to do the simple things. And I was surprised that they didn't know that. So I already showed them, even if I don't continue, the company already benefited from having the A player. So don't, first of all, never be scared to take the A player, even if you know that they are temporary, because they will raise the productivity and they will help to lift the others as well, and then establish the higher, let's say, the bar, to lift the bar, and then you continue from there. It's already higher productivity.
Got it.
You cannot keep the A player. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. You have to be fine with both, because the company still needs to work. The company still needs to benefit, whether the A player stays or no. So you just learn whatever the A player has to offer, and then see whether it works for both of you or no. Don't complicate, neither way.
So what you're saying is that the compensation is what attracts them, but to keep them, even though that they're only a short term, could possibly be a short-term employee because they're still going to benefit the company, right?
So the compensation is not always material compensation,
Sure.
because every single person has very different way of being compensated that meets their needs. You have to learn what's the need of the person. And then you have to find out the way whether you can compensate that or you cannot compensate.
Sure.
But I would encourage any single person, because that's the problem of many businesses, let's call it many businesses. They are scared of A players because they think that A player will disbalance the culture, because they will come, they will not stay for long enough, and they would leave. But even if the A player is not toxic, because that's very important, the A player can be toxic, or the A player can be really the perfect fit for the culture, then you will only benefit. Go for it. There are so many tiny things that you learn while you enter the company, and you start to see completely different picture, and you are like, okay, this can be done this way, this can be done this way, this can be done this way. So just take whatever comes and see what you can do, because if somebody gives you a gift, you don't throw the gift. You take the gift and you decide what you can do with the gift. Sometimes the gift could be, let's say, not very useful at that particular moment, but down the road you can come to the point to be, oh, let's wait. And we all have that. Like, we have the gifts from several years, like, and we come to the point and you are like, oh, I have that. So you go to the shelf and take it from the shelf and use it. Learn as much as you can and then see where you can apply, because everything can be modified. Even the tiny things that the person or anything was developed for this thing, it doesn't mean that it can fit only here. You can modify, change, and apply in different way and benefit like crazy. That's the beauty of being adjustable and coachable. It's not only people who join the company needs to be coachable. Business owners who want to benefit, if they are a little bit open to see the vision of the other person, they can benefit like
So
crazy.
you think business owners are afraid to bring on their A players because they might be too good for them, or they don't have the compensation ability?
Um, uh, for each business owner, it could be different,
Of course.
but it could be everything. But mostly the A players, they are scared that they will not stay long enough, because in the very beginning, when you have the A player, you feel that it's a A player, but you need to spend the time and the money to train them to come to the point to do the proper job.
Which honestly is quite an expense. That's why I'm thinking, you're saying that take them anyways, right? And glean what you can from this A player in your business. And then if they need to move on, they need to move on. But the cost of hiring a business, as a business, the cost of hiring an employee is equivalent to 6 months or a year's worth of salary just in training and offsetting and getting them onboarded. And if you're expending this extra money to onboard somebody who may not stay long within your company, that's a huge investment to let come in for a shorter term employee.
It depends. First of all, you also learn, because next time.
Right, but I'm not necessarily hiring somebody in my company to learn from them. I would hire a coach. I wouldn't necessarily hire an A player to learn a lot from them that would be worth an additional year or 6 months worth of salary for that. So I was thinking when the conversation initially started that this A player would come in and help lift and rise all boats, right? So they would cause the team itself to want to be bigger and better and stronger. But then there's always those that are sitting on the sideline going, wait a minute, and having that balance. And I think when we're talking about the toxicity, that's probably the toxicity. But I wasn't thinking of bringing an A player into a company. And I don't know many business owners that would bring an A player into the company to learn from them, unless it's a C-suite level opportunity where it's more of a structure. Is that your definition of an A player? Would be somebody that would be working along lines with team members, or would it be someone along the lines of a C-suite? I guess now I'm confused about your A player definition.
It doesn't mean that you are preparing somebody for the C-suite. No, it's any type of the A player. And what I meant by learning from the A player, it's also how you can keep the A player. Because if you never hire the A player, how you can learn how to keep them? Because we are always scared of unknown. So um, we stop the possibility simply because we think that down the road they will quit. We assume that they might. So if you never hire the A player, what are the chances that you will learn how you can keep the A player? Because the A player might really like the culture and stay. The A player are not that scary. If you have something to offer and you see that the compensation, so-called, fits the needs of the A player, then how you are going to learn how to keep the A player if you just refuse every single time, scared that you cannot keep them? It's not always about the coach, because the coach has one vision. You can never learn different visions. And I don't encourage people to bring any single A player simply just only to give a nudge to the culture. That's not very healthy as well. I mean, you need to find the balance, and excluding to bring the A player to your team, especially if you feel that there is a perfect fit for as a culture, you should not say no simply because you see that there is a potential, because so many people stay for the culture. And you would be amazed if you like the culture at the end of the day. If you can make a little bit more in different environment, but you hate your place and you don't want to invest your time or your potential versus somewhere where it's really family like, where you support the company and you see yourself to grow with the company. So you have to see what is on the plate and then decide, is it a good fit for your company at that particular moment, or it's a wrong? So that's what you need to learn. But unless you start to take from time to time the A player, you will never learn that, because you would just refuse them simply because you think that they are leaving.
Okay. Okay. Or overqualified. So is it possible to have more than one A player in a company?
More than possible. Yes. If you create really good culture, why not? The A players are not always against each other. We are going back to when the A player is the leader or the A player is the boss. If you have the A player who is the toxic person, you can never create or bring any other A player, or even the other people will be uncomfortable around them. You need to feel who is that person. You can have B and D and C players to be toxic. And I don't like when people talk about being A player. When I say the A player is, you can hire somebody because you need to understand what is the potential of the person. Sometimes you can see that the potential is more than your company can offer, then you let the person go because you know that it's not a good fit for the person. But you can see that, okay, I can just change the position of the person and the company will benefit. So in this place, the person is the wrong fit. But if I change, I will meet the need of the person, and also the person will thrive. And together with thriving, they will lift people. Everything is possible. It depends how you see, how everything is structured, and together with this, the person, whether you are a player or whoever you are, you need to be able to listen, being coachable, because you are joining the company. It's not your company. That's the first thing that I would always encourage people to see. If the person enters the company and pretends that it's their own company, so they start to adjust the company to meet their needs, that's a wrong fit. Up
Got
front. That's not. The person has to realize you are investing in the company. The company doesn't invest in you. So you need to share. The company doesn't need to share. It needs to be balanced. But there are many things that you learn down the road, and just don't be scared of the A players. Because A players needs to work as well.
Sure, I do. All right. Well, this was an interesting conversation in the direction using A players and benefiting from them for business owners. So, Dr. Axa, where can listeners find out more about you and how you train A players or teams to work together?
They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active there. They can find my book, by the way, on Amazon. It explains how you can stop procrastination, especially if you are employee and you want to start your own business, how to overcome that fear of unknown. And yeah, they can reach me, schedule the one-on-one, and then we continue from there on. And before we stop, I want to give one last tip to everyone, because that's something that no one speaks about. Every time when you people get the salary, by statistics, it raises the productivity of the team for that day for 70%. So it's one small trick.
You mean payday?
Yes, the payday.
The day before or the day after payday?
Payroll. Yes, the payroll day, because that's very common for companies to have it on Friday. So the Friday, mostly people, what do people think? When the Friday will end, that because I want to go for some fun, it's weekend before. So you raise the productivity on Friday and you don't use it. But if you have the payroll in the middle of the week, then you give the chances for people to work, to raise the productivity, and to still have it for another one day, which will your company will benefit. So don't think that if you pay at the end of the week, people would be happy because they have the money for the weekend. People still manage their budget. Think to pay in the middle. Let's call it Wednesday payroll day, and then people would be up for Wednesday and Thursday, and then you will benefit.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that tip. That's very interesting. I never realized that the pay day will boost profit or boost productivity. So interesting insight. All right, listeners, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you found some valuable insights and actionable ideas to help you make your business more profitable. I know that the potential of bringing on A players onto your team can lift the entire company and boost productivity just by having that leader in the role. And as a reminder, that reviews are a powerful way to attract new clients and boost your trust. Don't forget to go grab my free growth and marketing audit at profitbooster.biz. In this one session, we'll show you how to turn those reviews into real growth. Go visit profitbooster.biz and be the company that your clients choose. Don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss future shows. You can find Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. And we're looking forward to more profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks, Dr. Axa.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting.